Okay, so tonight we're going to make lasagna. So, okay, let's preheat the oven. First of all, to gas mark 6. Okay. I'm going to sauce these. And as always, I'm making a vegetarian one. You see, vegetarian one as well as a meat lasagna. So I'm using Asda meat-free mince. For my daughter's one. Just have a little clip on this. And put it in the freezer. And I'm using meat for mine. The other day I made spaghetti bolognese. And I only used half a packet of mince, so this is the second half of the packet of mince. The other day I ran out of garlic and I was making spaghetti bolognese, and instead of using garlic, I used garlic powder. I've never used that before, and it was actually really, really good. It tasted exactly the same. So, I'm going to start off by browning the mince. That's on a low heat but on a big brown. I'm going to leave the vegetarian one for a moment. Okay. So I've got my garlic. And I am just peeling some garlic. I'm going to use 2 cloves of garlic. These cloves, the individual ones. 2 cloves of garlic for mine, and 1 clove of garlic for the vegetarian one. Okay, so I'm just going to peel and chop the garlic. Cut the top and the bottom off. And I'm just using a knife that I've just chopped butter with literally about 2 minutes before I started recording this. So chop the top and the bottom off just a little bit, and it helps you peel it better. It's just normal Asda garlic. I think it was about, it was 20p for the whole bulb. Just wash my hands a sec. Okay, I can hear this starting to sizzle a little bit, so I'm going to break it up and stir it around. I'm not putting any oil in, because oil will come out of the meat, so there is no point in adding more, because you're just have to remove it once the meat's browned. Okay, so using a big flat knife, you can see, okay, the garlic on its side, and squish it down, okay, like that. The big one and the small one for the meat one, and the medium sized one for the vegetarian. Okay, you just want to finely chop your garlic so there's no big chunks in your cooking. Okay, that's the one. One with 2. Okay. that aside for a moment. I'm just going to go and wash the garlic off my hands and then give the meat a stir. Okay, I'm breaking the meat up as I stir it so it doesn't cook or clump together. Okay. So garlic set aside, and I'm going to use 1 onion between the two because it's quite a large onion. Again, you chop the top and the bottom off like you do with garlic, and I've just sliced down the length of the onion to help peel it. Just peel the very outer layer of the skin off. And also that bit as well, because that looks a bit here and dry. Okay, so peeled the onion. All this in here for a minute. And I can hear the meat sizzling, so I'm just going to give it a stir. Okay, it's starting to melt, it's about halfway there. So, chop the onion in half. So I'm going to use half each. So just again, slice it sideways, smaller as big as you want, turn it around, and slice it the other way, and you end up with little cubes of garlic, onion. Okay. You can use red onions or white onions, whichever you want. I went for a change and bought red onions this time, just do the same on the other side. Because for the first time in I don't even know how long, there was actually no price difference. Usually red onions are more expensive than white onions. And I think they taste the same, other people might not. It's a personal preference. Okay, so again I've just separated them because I've got one vegetarian and one meat. Okay, so I'm going to give this another stir. Make sure again that I'm breaking it up because I don't want the meat clumped together. Because mince tends to clump together if you don't stir it. Okay, that's about done. Just a sec. Okay, so what I am going to do is, because that's about brown now, I'm going to add the garlic to the vegetarian one, and then garlic to the meat one. Such nitty notes, right. The mince, remember I've not turned the vegetarian one on yet. Feel that drop in. Just a little piece of onion. See onion in that one. Chopping board. I've got a bit of alcohol as well. Okay, my rubbish bag. Here we go. Okay, so just give that a stir in. And now I want to turn on the vegetarian one on the hob. Okay, again, that's on a low heat. Vegetarian mince doesn't need to brown, it just needs to defrost. Give them both a good stir. Stir it all and it also breaks down the onions so you don't have to sit there picking apart every single little piece. There we go. My eyes are stinging now. Okay. So next we have our mushrooms. Just normal mushrooms, whichever ones you prefer. I've just brought plain, close-cut mushrooms. And just give them a slice. And put in as many as you want. Also at this stage, you could also grate in some courgette, marrow or carrot, just to hide the veggies in there from your kids. It doesn't change the flavour at all, and they can't see it because of the sauce and everything else in there as well. If you wanted to use tomatoes instead of passata for the sauce, when we put the sauce in a minute, then again, that's extra great. Just cook it for longer so that it has a chance to break down. I use passata because you don't have to cook it for as long then. Okay, pop some of these mushrooms in the veggie one. Rest down. And the rest into the meat one. Use around about half a packet of this 300 grams of mushrooms. So approximately 150 grams of mushrooms. Oopsies. Put these back in the fridge. Now I've got some just normal plain basil. Because I like adding fresh basil where I can into my cooking. I do think it tastes better than the dried stuff. But again, it's what you have, because like the other day I didn't have any fresh garlic, so I used powdered and it actually tasted exactly the same. So I'm just going to chop the stems off for a minute. I want to save half of this packet because I'm going to be making pesto in the next couple of days. So I'm going to save that. Just going to rough chop the basil. I'm also going to add some thyme and a little bit of salt in a minute. And stems, fine to cut the stems, don't taste woody. That's totally fine. Because otherwise the vegetarian mince will stick to the bottom of the pan. The vegetarian one could probably do a little bit of oil. Right, okay. The reason I use these kind of things, I've also got these as well. One for my porridge, one for muesli. This is oil.
So no one can see what brand I use because children have a tendency to say, I don't like that brand.
So,
if I have a kid round who says, I don't like Tesco value, well, tough luck because you don't know what I'm using. And they like it all of a sudden because they don't know what it is.
So I just popped a little bit of oil into the vegetarian one because it is a little bit dry. See if I can stir through. You can use whatever oil you want. I do use olive oil.
And you can tell an oil by its colour because that's really dark and you can see that's olive oil.
Whereas I've not any sunflower oil left, I was going to show you. Whereas sunflower oil is really, really light. Okay. So it's put about 1/4 to 1/3 of basil in the veggie one, and the rest in the meat, because there's more meat than there is veggie. It's not half and half. Give it a bit of a stir. At the moment, the meat one's looking quite sad, whereas the vegetarian one's looking quite colourful right now. What I'm doing. Bit of time. Oops, sorry. Oh, I've got some because I used it yesterday. There we go. Okay. So just normal dried thyme because I've got no fresh. About 1/2 teaspoon, 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon in each, and a little pinch of sea salt in each. The reason I do that is because of the passata. So when you're cooking with tomatoes, salt helps draw out the flavour of the tomato. So now I'm going to put some passata in. I'm just using normal passata because they all taste the same, but you can use whatever brand you want. So in the veggie one, I put about 3/4 of that carton. I'm just going to leave that to simmer. So I put the rest in the meat one. If you're using a fatty meat, before you put the passata in, I would drain the oil off of the meat. I need some more. I'm just going to put some more passata in. This is the meat one. If you want to. Just not going to use them. That's fine. Okay. So in this one I've used a jar. I've used about 1/4 of the carton. And I've also used just under 1/2 of the jar. I'll pop the lid back on that and pop it in the fridge. If I can find room in the fridge, there's too much alcohol in there left over for Christmas. Okay. My fridge has just told me I need to have some pear cider. Ooh, I'm so noisy, sorry. So there we go. The reason my fridge told me is because there's nothing else, no room left for anything else. So. Leave these bubbling away on a low heat. You want them to soak up the moisture from the passata or the tomatoes, whatever you're using. You want the vegetables to cook through and become nice and soft. And if you want to, give it a good little taste to see if it's to your liking or if you want to add any salt or pepper. Right. Just put this down. Now we need to make the bechamel or bechamel, I don't know how to pronounce it, sauce. Which is the white sauce that goes in between the lasagna sheets. Just a second. Sorry, something's draining really, really slowly into the sink. I think I was doing my head in. Okay. give those a bit of a stir. Now what I want to do to make a white sauce is, you need it quite thick, so we're going to need to use a couple of tablespoons of flour. I'm using 2 heaped tablespoons of flour. And around about 2 tablespoons of butter. That's more than 2 tablespoons. That's like a heart attack amount. Okay, so about 2 tablespoons of butter. If you want to have more in a little while, you can do. Just wait and see how it looks. You don't want it to be too thick and crumbly. Okay, that one needs to move into a smaller ring because it's cooking too quickly. So I'll move that into there, and the little one will do a little ring. That one. What am I doing? That needs to go on there. So we have our bloom whisk and a spoon as well. Hold on. Sorry, I had a hair in my cleavage that was annoying me. Pop this in again. And we'll just wait for this. I'll put it on a low heat, the butter and the flour. And you just need to wait for the butter to melt. And that's called a roux when you do that. Okay. You just waiting for that to melt. And in a minute I'm going to add some milk into it. Starting to melt. Now I'm using a metal spoon at the moment because I have metal pans. Don't use a metal spoon if you've got non-stick pans because it takes off the Teflon coating, and then every time you cook something in that pan you'll get little bits of the Teflon cook into your food and it ends up like little black dots. I have done that before. You see okay there. Move it out of the way so there's nothing in your way. Okay, so the butter's still in the block, so it's not melted yet. But I can see that I do need to add a little bit more because of the amount of flour I've got. So, pop that a little bit in. Might be plenty.
You notice that I bash around the kitchen quite a lot. My other half tells me that I need to go to finishing school because I'm like an elephant. Okay.
Okay, so all that butter is now melted. And you've got like a brownish paste. So we need to add some milk. And I would do it, it's still on a low heat. Get your whisk and add it in. Now, you whisk it, stop the lumps. But you do need it quite thick. So it turns out to be too thin. We'll create a paste with flour and cold milk in a little cup, and then you whisk it in separately. Never ever add flour to the milk, to the sauce, because otherwise it'll go all lumpy and you won't be able to stop it. Please excuse the background noise. My bathroom and my toilet are just through that way, and the daughter's doing her chores. Yeah, you can come through. Good, thank you. I've got to write down. Okay, so lumps are out. So I'm just stirring this slowly. And you can't really stop stirring it until it starts to thicken up. And the reason it thickens up is because the milk and the flour are cooking together. And you do it gently so that it doesn't burn the pan and so that it doesn't separate. When it separates, you end up with the fat from the milk on the top and then the milk on the bottom. It's kind of gross. I have done it before, not with milk, but when I've been making custard. When I was first learning how to make custard, I would curdle it all the time. And it'd go all gross. And also, even now, whenever I make beef stroganoff, I always manage to curdle it. I don't know why. Okay, now I've said, stop stirring it until it's ready, but I need to give these a stir. So just stir this gently. Probably turn it up a little bit because it is on the smallest ring, but then I am using just a milk pan, the smallest pan. I don't want it to get too hot. As well, stop since it doesn't burn. They're not sticking to the pan or anything, I just don't want them to stick to the pan. I can already feel the sauce starting to get a little bit thicker, which means it's starting to cook. Just give it a bit of a whisk. Just make sure there's no lumps. Ready to be turned up a little bit. Be really careful with this, otherwise you'll end up with a lumpy sauce. If you end up with a lumpy sauce, the best way to get rid of the lumps are to put a sieve over a decent sized bowl and pour the sauce through the sieve. If you press the lumps through the sieve with a wooden spoon on the back of a metal spoon or whatever, and then give the sauce a stir, you'll get the thickness of it through without the lumps. But that's extra effort, and you don't want to be adding extra time to your cooking, especially if you're cooking this on a weekday. This is Friday night, so yeah, okay, I have been at work all day. But at the weekend it doesn't matter if we eat a bit later. Just give these a quick stir. Sauce is still heating up. And the meats on both are starting to cook up nicely now. You notice that the only difference between the lasagna meat and spaghetti bolognese meat is the thickness of the sauce. I always reduce the sauce more when I'm doing lasagna meat. So if you've got leftover spaghetti bolognese meat, you can actually make that into a lasagna. So like I always say in all my videos, never ever throw anything away. It won't freeze, then stick it in the fridge for the next day. But try not to throw it away, obviously, unless it's out of date and mouldy and gross. It's starting to thicken up, but it's not yet cooked through. So these let us stir. I am, in the next week or so, going to be adding some videos on what to cook with leftovers. So in my freezer leftover from, I think was it last Sunday or the Sunday before, I've got some mashed potatoes, some sweet potato mash, Brussels sprouts, carrots, parsnips, roast potatoes. I just made too much, which is just a really bad habit of mine. So I froze the leftovers, and I'm going to be making a fancy bubble and squeak with it. I'm just going to turn this down a bit. It's starting to thicken up really nicely. It's really nice. Not overly runny, but it is runny, but not too much. I guess you don't want it all gloopy. But that's really, really easy to make. So we cook these, the meat side of the lasagnas, a little bit longer. Just to reduce the sauce down and make the sauce a little bit thicker. This is about done. Just give it another 30 seconds to a minute, just in case it wants to thicken up anymore. As well. It's not gloopy though, which is good, because otherwise if it got too thick and got gloopy, then I'd add some milk, slowly and gently whisking it while it's over the lowest heat. Okay. That's lovely and thick, so I'm just going to turn that off for a second. Just pop these out of the way. Because I know I'll finish with the milk, I'll put that away in a sec. I'm just going to give this side a bit of a wipe. So the liquid in the meat is really thick now and it's reduced quite a lot, so I'm going to turn those off. Yeah, this way. Okay. Now I'm going to use my little individual dishes. These, don't know if you can see. Takes a minute for the light to adjust when I do these. Little individual dishes that I've had for a million years. Because they're both exactly the same, I need to make sure I've got a way of differentiating between the meat and the vegetarian one. Otherwise, both me and my daughter are going to have a nasty surprise. Okay, so use a slotted spoon. This one's the veggie one. Because you don't want all of the sauce. Put a little layer on. I'm using some lasagna sheets. Normal plain lasagna sheets. You can use any brand you want. You can use fresh ones if you want to waste money. These are fun. So I'm just gonna break these up and put them straight on top of the meat. You don't need to soak them. I know some people think you have to soak dried pasta sheets. You really don't. They're totally fine as they are. Okay, and it's fine that you've broken them up because they will stick together in the cooking process. Okay, so that's the meat in its sauce, a lasagna sheet, and now the white sauce. I know I've made way too much of this, but again, that's a good thing because I can freeze it. And next time we have lasagna, I can just put it in the fridge to defrost. Ready. Okay, so a nice good layer to cover your pasta, and this will actually soften the pasta sheets. Okay, and then we'll just do it all over again. Now with this layer, because I'm using the kinds of dishes I'm using, I'm not going to make it too high because otherwise it will spill over, so that's totally fine. Okay, my pasta sheets. Break it into little pieces and just fill them in. Ridge them down a bit. And again, white sauce. I'm being extra careful around the edges of this because I have filled it up a little bit too much so it doesn't go all over the place. With this, I will put them onto baking sheets when I put them in the oven, just in case they overspill. Okay, so that's that one. Again, don't forget, salted spoon. Just move that way. I'll put a nice little layer of your meat on the bottom. Oops. And layer with your lasagna sheets. Meat, lasagna sheet, white sauce. I have to stop. I keep watching myself on the video and I'm going to spill everything everywhere if I keep doing that. I need to watch what I'm doing. Okay, that's that bit. Another layer of meat. Again, don't go too close to the top. just layer it on to make sure all the gaps are covered, even if it means breaking it into teeny pieces. So all my gaps are covered, and pop that bit back in there. Okay, so I haven't got too much actually, I've probably got just enough. So next you do your white sauce again. Right, I'm putting mine on the left and my daughter's on the right. And the way I'm going to remember that is I'm left-handed, so I go on the left, she's right-handed, so she goes on the right. Okay, so you've got your white sauce on top at the moment. So what we need to do now, grate some cheese to go on top. Use whatever cheese you want. I am using this one. And just break a bit off there to make it easier. Don't buy pre-grated cheese, that's just silly. You're paying for somebody else to grate it for you. Just break it into chunks and grate it yourself. Don't be lazy. It costs you loads extra in this country to buy the pre-grated stuff. Just chucked a bit on the floor. Watch your fingernails. Don't grate your fingernails, because that'd be quite gross. I really like cheese, and so does my daughter. So I will probably put more than what we need on these. But you put as much or as little as you want. Just put it there for a sec. Right, Kerry is on the right. Just sprinkle your grated cheese over. Okay. Mine is on the left. Need to do some more. If you grate too much and you've got loads left over, stick it onto a plate, pop some cling film on it, and put it in your fridge. You can use it for your cheese sandwiches or cheese on toast tomorrow. Don't throw it away, it's wasting it. Okay. Put this back. Okay, bacon sheet. I don't actually have an actual baking sheet, so I'm using an oven dish. I'm going to put my daughter's on the right and mine on the left. I've got the oven preheated to gas mark 6, and I'm putting this on a centre shelf. That needs to go in for around about half an hour, or until it goes golden brown on top. So I'm going to pause you for half an hour. Okay, so it's been 25 minutes, so the lasagnas are now ready. I'm going to take them out of the oven. I'm glad I put them on the tray because they have overflowed a bit. And I'm going to keep that on actually, so there's something else I need to cook, not for today, for a different day. So, yeah, I'm glad I put them on a tray because they did overflow a little bit. But just so you can see, this is what it looks like. There you go. 2 lasagnas, the meat one and the vegetarian one. They look both exactly the same. They're lovely and golden brown, and you can serve those with salad, with garlic bread, or just have them by themselves. Obviously we won't eat all of that. So I'll serve a portion from each and save the rest in the fridge or in the freezer for another day. So enjoy. Bye bye.